Hello and welcome to another episode of Tangled Rights. I am Justin W. Wilson, Esquire, and this is
Shane D. Cox, Esquire,
still got our law licenses.
for another week.
Hooray! I always forget to do this, so I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to make it a pattern. We're going to do this. This is not legal advice. If you live in the state of Nevada, some of this stuff might be applicable, but please seek out your local attorney. And if you are in Nevada, we're local attorneys. So
Nothing's intended to create an attorney-client relationship here. We're just giving you general advice, okay?
that too.
Just
The only person I have a relationship with is Shane.
okay.
And sometimes Austin.
All right. All right, Justin, we are old. We're millennials.
Relax.
We're not Gen
I'm
Z.
38, bro. I'm not that old.
You've been on TikTok now that we have a TikTok for our business.
Tick tick.
And there's things on there I don't understand. It makes me feel old because I have no idea what's going on.
I have tick tick.
Okay.
my buddy Mike called it tick tick the other day. He's 35, and I said, "Hey man, check this video out." And he's like, "I don't have tick tick. I'm not a Chinese girl or something like this." And I was like, "Tick." First off, the rest of it I don't like, but tick tick is brilliant and it's super funny. So from now on, I'm going to call it tick tick because it made me laugh a lot.
It's like Bill Belichick, who always says that when they ask him about things. He's like, "Oh, I don't have face snap. I don't know what that
I
is."
don't know, face space. I ain't got that.
So I have been perusing the TikTok, and
See, it's so funny. Anytime you hear it, you have to laugh. Sorry.
so there was something about some kind of Gypsy Rose, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Is that like a spell that they use?
Things get popular on TikTok, and I don't even know how to search for them to know like what's popular. So this took me a while.
Is this like when they're taking people's tears?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Give me your tears or I will take them from you. You know, try shrink me, Gypsy.
Oh, no, it's nothing to do with that.
Yak shamash!
My wife.
My wife is dead. High five! Oh, come on. Borat's classic. Everybody will love Borat.
Yes. Okay, this is a girl named Gypsy Rose, famously known as Gypsy Rose.
Is that her name or is it like a stage name?
No, that's her actual name, I'm pretty sure. Austin, you're younger than me. Her actual name. Okay.
That's fine.
You might have heard of this story, but
I guarantee I have.
When
you said Gypsy, I thought you meant like, or Rose makes me, the only Rose I can think of is like Thug Rose.
I don't tell Justin these stories beforehand to see his
And you
real reaction.
So it's like whatever this is. Anyway, Gypsy Rose sounds like a great lady. What happened with her?
This is a crazy story that has to deal with some civil law,
Okay.
criminal law, just insane, and it's really popular right now. People are talking about her a lot right now. So, Gypsy was an only child. Okay. So messed up.
Okay. All right. This is what we're doing. All right. Fine.
Her mom raised her and always would tell everyone that she had some pretty crazy medical conditions. So she didn't have use of her legs.
It's not the hypochondria stuff. It's like there's another word for it because hypochondriac is where you feel like you're sick all the time, but it's when someone like conditions you to believe that you're ill and then you exhibit the symptoms.
Okay, nail on the head here. You got it.
Sure.
So it comes out eventually that she has no health issues whatsoever. Okay.
And she just stands up.
Well, no. Oh gosh, there's more to the story on this one. So her whole life she has been treated like she has diseases. She is given medication that she sees doctors. There is a doctor in her history that suspects this is something called Munchausen syndrome.
Yeah.
So this is Munchausen syndrome by proxy, so through another person. So her mom is putting this on her, saying she has all these issues. She is homeschooled since basically she's in kindergarten. Her mom lies to her about her age. She fakes her birth certificate, so she thinks she's a lot younger.
Up or down? Okay.
Down, yes.
Okay.
And makes her look really childish. It infantilizes her a ton. She gets money to go on, like, Make a Dream or
Make a Wish.
Make a Wish. She's gone on trips through Make a Wish because of these issues.
That's vile.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So
So
the mom did this. She didn't.
her mom did it all for her. I mean, there's a question of it
Is
at
there a
some
question that she
point.
knew?
There's a question of at some point whether she knows or not
Oh,
what's going on. You know.
You don't-
So
you don't
she's
mess.
at 23 years old, saying she's 18, going to Disney World. You know, going on these kinds of trips. She has pictures with famous people. There was one doctor in her history that suspected this but did not report it to somebody, that she had this Munchausen syndrome by proxy, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Munchausen's, yeah.
But nothing really happens. So all of a sudden, the daughter goes missing. Nobody sees the mom for a while. And then nobody knows what's going on. They kind of suspect something. They finally get authority to go in the home. A neighbor goes in the home and finds a wheelchair in the home and thinks, wow, this daughter doesn't have her wheelchair and she's not in the home. What is going on? Eventually, the police are able to go in and they find the dead body of the mother. Okay? It comes out in the following weeks that Gypsy had an online boyfriend and had kind of known, you know, what's going on. She kind of knows that her mom's tricking her, it sounds like, and she resents her mom. And with her boyfriend, she plans to murder her mother. Okay? So the plan is they're talking online on Facebook, Messenger, plotting this murder. They go to a movie that same day and they come home. Gypsy goes in the other rooms, covers her ears and her eyes, and the boyfriend stabs her mom to death. Mm-hmm. And then they leave and go to the boyfriend's house, who's in Michigan, Minnesota, somewhere like that. They're from Missouri. So Missouri, what a surprise!
Not gonna say it, but
you're from Kansas, so I know how you feel about people from Missouri.
Missourians.
So everyone thought that this was legitimate and really felt remorseful for the mom, but then they realized what had happened to the daughter. So the daughter's charged with murder.
What?
Yes, and the boyfriend is charged with murder.
Obviously,
so the boyfriend gets convicted life without parole for a first-degree murder, and a lot of stuff the criminal defense attorney tries to use, you know, the medical documents of the history, how she has been coerced into this, and she eventually pleads to a second-degree murder and ends up serving 8 years behind bars.
Has she already served, or she just got sentenced?
So this was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
So her story doesn't stop there. Now, of course, they use all of this stuff, exculpatory, you know, or rationalization,
it's not exculpatory,
mitigating circumstances.
Mitigating explains it. I'm trying to think of. There's a defense. It's like the battered woman syndrome thing, but not. It'd be like battered child syndrome, something analogous to that.
Right. So she, near the tail end of her prison sentence, there started to be biographies about her. There started to be camera crews. And now that she's out, she has a reality TV show about her. So it's been...
And they made a whole show about her on Netflix years ago.
Yeah, and now...
Can I look up what she looks like? Is that okay?
You should. You should.
Gypsy Rose.
Yeah.
Gypsy Rose.
Blanchard, I think, the last name. She's kind of known just as Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Her
part of the story, this is even like super recent. She started dating a boy through a guy through a pen pal program.
When she was in custody.
When she was in custody, in prison, and then she ended up getting married to a different guy while in prison. And after she got released, they recently got divorced, and now she's pregnant by the first boyfriend that she had in prison.
I don't do family law, and this is why.
So this has been going on. People are talking about her a lot on TikTok.
TikTok. I feel like I have seen this girl's picture before, right?
I think part of it, she just got her nose done too. That was one of the recent episodes. Yeah. So I don't know what picture you're looking at, but she's so much more attractive now. Yeah, definitely.
So that's all I'm saying. Her face is distinctive. I feel like I've seen it on something.
Definitely, and she she just gets on social media and just kind of blabbers and talks and about nothing.
She just flies to the mouth and just says,
Can you imagine that? Obviously, she has a messed up. There's got to be some cognitive,
sure.
psychological
I can't
problems
even
going on.
imagine.
You thought you had a messed up childhood.
Yeah, my childhood sucked. Except for my dad. That dude is dope. Shout out. FYI. When I say that, I'm not talking about him. That dude
Bobby.
is awesome. Bobby. Anyway, yeah, her childhood would be way objectively crappier than mine. I'm seeing a picture here that shows like her mom and stuff. It shows him like
big curly
looks
hair.
like she's got the kid's got her head shaved, and she's at like.
Yeah, that's her childhood right there. That's the history. Her in that wheelchair, not having any use of her legs, supposedly. Father's not really in the picture, from my understanding. The mom is very supported in the community.
Well, not anymore.
Oh gosh, yes.
I was asking. I'm not being.
Well, yeah, I thought you were making a joke about her not being alive anymore, but
Well, I mean, it kind of is a double entendre. But do they still kind of like, oh, she didn't do bad, or she was fine? Murder? What murder? That kind of thing.
I mean, obviously, I think there's just a shock, like, of everyone around her that they didn't know the true facts behind
Sure.
this person her daughter not really having any kind of disability.
That's so wild to me.
It's just an insane story. So let's analyze some of the legal stuff. Let's say that Gypsy tries to emancipate herself.
As a kid?
As a child, yes.
Okay.
Do you think that a child could have some kind of claim against a parent for not properly raising them or putting them in a position? This is the most egregious, example.
This is crazy.
So could a child potentially have a claim against a parent for, I guess, maybe not just not raising them in the correct way, but intentionally holding them back?
Let's break this down a different way. Could a child have a claim against a parent for something like defamation?
I think so. I don't think that there's anything
I don't
that
see why
precludes that.
not. It would be an interesting situation, especially if you only had one parent, because as you know, a minor can't sue on their own behalf. So it would
Right.
be like Shane Cox as legal guardian of insert child name here versus Shane Cox or Hannah Cox or whatever.
Yeah.
So if we're operating under the presumption that you can sue.
Well, she's 18
generally
at some point.
Sure, and once she turns 18, then she's fine. But we're saying you wanted to talk about emancipation or something like that. She's only 4'11". She's this tiny little thing. That's crazy.
Big world.
Little people, big world. Yeah. I don't see why she wouldn't be able to, because I wonder if you could just tie it into some other normal torts that we deal with, like specifically defamation. And also, I don't know if there's any torts for like psychological manipulation, right? Like you can, there's got to be some way you can craft a regular tort into, you're just folding damages underneath there.
I mean, negligence is always kind of...
This isn't negligent, though.
It's more than negligence, you're saying,
It is.
right?
It's more than negligence. I think it's a higher culpability state. Unless, but then here's the other thing. What if the mom has a psychological disorder that is the defense to it? It's kind of like with criminal acts. There's some times where you're just... where you're just not able to be held liable because you're incompetent. As, we are. That was the joke.
Oh. So, Gypsy's come under a lot of fire, too, because she's made some comments about how she misses her mom. She wishes she was here. She goes to her gravesite and visits it, and there's some negative comments that come back about it.
Well,
obviously the mental state she's in, hopefully at that time where, she's planning a murder, is different than the mental state she's in. Yeah.
She didn't like it. But the people that are saying that, people that are saying like, oh, how could you, she was so terrible to you, or whatever it is that they're saying, they're probably saying that from the perspective of a person who has a normal functioning relationship. And they're like, oh, my mom and dad's always great to me. The worst thing they ever did was punish me and try to make me a better person. I love them a lot. I can't imagine if they did me, I'd hate them. I'd never want to be around them. That's all well and good until you're 8 years old and the person that, you know, is your caregiver that you look up to then starts doing the thing to you that, you know, makes you afraid they're going to kill you, or in this situation subjects you to national scrutiny, which, you know, I'll take getting beat over that any day of the week. At least I can just cry alone in my room and I don't have to worry about people looking at me.
And when you turned 18, you were able to get out of the house, where she was continually infantilized and...
But yes.
Okay, well...
Yeah.
She
there was
had
no
to stick
psychological
around.
hold. Yeah.
And you were allowed to go to school, too, and
Correct. I was
see
in
maybe
public
some other good relationships or good examples or sports or whatever.
Yep.
Whereas this girl had no outside
And that's the other
presence
thing.
in her
It's a
life.
codependency that I'm sure that they're going to eventually write a book about. Right? You're going to get something new in the DSM-6 whenever they come out with that because of something like this.
And it's a study now on, okay, she's in a messed up mental state, and now the global eye is on her. Everyone, you know, she has a TV show and people are responding to it all the time. And so she thinks she's famous, she thinks she's popular, and so she's not dealing with, you know, normal emotions. It's like a child actor, you know, they seem to have trouble becoming adults and becoming just normal people. So it's tough to see.
Here's the thing that I really don't understand is why do we turn all this stuff into reality TV? Like why
people watch it. It's monetized, right?
I
Free
get it.
market,
No,
baby.
I get why it's monetized, man, but I don't understand why people just thrive on this stuff so much. It kind of like
It makes you feel yucky, huh?
it does, but it's like secondhand embarrassment, but secondhand, ugh, brother.
Here we are talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not consuming the TV show, and I will never watch it. And I'm only talking about it because you brought it up. I lived in isolation until I got tick. I wasn't even possibly exposed to this stuff. But she hasn't popped up on my little algorithm. Right now, it's like...
Well, the phone's listening now.
Damn it. Mostly it's just like sports stuff to do with firearms, and then a lot of comedy.
Legal stuff, too.
Yeah, legal stuff.
Legal stuff. It reminds me also...
and cat videos. I love cat videos. There's so many good ones on TikTok. It's so good. Anyways.
It reminds me, too, there was a murder of a son killing his parents. He was 17 years old back in 2011, just to have a party at his house. I don't know if you remember this one. This was Tyler Hadley was his name. Killed his parents, Blake and Mary Jo Hadley. And he was convicted of the murders, you know, a few years
Because they
back.
wouldn't let him have a party.
Because he wanted to have a party. He just felt like
He needed it.
he needed to have a party.
I
And
don't do this. My
There's-
life is ruined.
there's photos of him at the party, and he just looks normal, and his parents' corpses were rotting, you know, inside the house.
Yeah,
Oh, whatever. Sorry. But
whatever. They were dead. They were deceased. He killed them. That's...
it's just, I
Really
mean,
messed up.
we look at the spectrum of things, right? There are worse murders out there. And the boyfriend, we don't talk about the boyfriend. He's put away for life for the murder.
But here's the interesting thing, man. And I mean, I want to be very clear. I'm not talking about deserving, right? Did the mother deserve to be murdered?
No.
Probably not.
No.
But should she have been punished, prosecuted,
Yeah.
held accountable?
Child
Absolutely.
endangerment. There's
Child abuse, and that's child abuse.
yes.
It's not just physical, right? There's mental child abuse. And this is pretty horrific.
This is the one that you'd want to see whatever the max penalty is in
Yeah.
Missouri. Hey, this
Well, I think the max penalty in Missouri is like,
living in Missouri.
I can't living in southern Missouri. But I don't know. Maybe they like trample them by goats, or you know, the sister, brother, wife pair. You know, have to. I don't know. Who knows? Whatever that is.
You just wanted to say incest.
Yeah, it's Missouri. What are you gonna do? They don't know. They just keep doing it.
And they're all Cardinals fans, and Cardinals fans are the worst.
Chiefs fans are the
Well,
worst.
that's true.
Also in Missouri.
We hate Chiefs fans here.
Cowboys fan also hate Chiefs fans.
Raiders fan, hate Chiefs fans. Chargers fan, hates Chiefs fans.
But more importantly than all that, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Am I right?
Sure.
Hell yeah.
Whatever.
You don't know what that means, do you?
No.
Get a life.
Go Shockers.
Tell me, get a life.
Yeah. You heard me.
So
Anyway,
yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about that. It's
So the interesting thing on the criminal penalty is I was trying to think when you were talking through that is whether or not it was going to amount to a situation where she was going to have liability, because there is a conspiracy element there,
yeah.
but did she aid and abet, or were they just talking about it? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
she goes
there's
into
some
another
messages
room.
she knows.
Now, she let him in the house. That's a different story. Because you always hear the classic ones where it's like they it'll be like a girl, right, who wasn't involved in the murder, calls old boy over. He comes over thinking he's gonna, meet up with the girl, date like or something, and then he gets jumped and killed, or he gets ambushed and killed.
Sure.
That's different.
Yeah.
But I think you can definitely make the argument that, hey, she let him in the house, but maybe it's a situation where like let's take it and make it different. She's just at dinner with him, griping. My mom's always so mean to me. I don't like this, and he's just had it. But he's hanging out with her at the house, so that's where they're going back to. They go in the house, then he murders the mom.
Yeah.
She does the same stuff. Goes into a room, paralyzes in fear, covers her ears. There's no liability there.
Yeah, but this was definitely planned. There were Facebook messages they subpoenaed, and there was definitely some kind of plan. And I think what even allowed them to drop it to a second degree for her was this mental aspect,
Yeah, I mean, is she even capable of forming certain kinds of intent?
And this is, who knows, back then,
I mean, how old was she then? She was 8 years ago, so she's 32 now.
24-ish.
Yeah, and plus 24 with that. I mean, I don't know, emotionally and intellectually stunted, probably.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's definitely a risk analysis that the prosecution takes, as well as her with her defense attorney.
Because you have to imagine what's this going to look like, and you get the wrong jury on there, and it's not going to matter.
And they have to guess. It's a complete guess as to what a jury would do in this situation. And man, that one more than any other has so many factors that could.
That's a wild. She wanted that chick from Stranger Things to play her, Millie Bobby Brown. They look similar.
Yeah.
They both have brown hair.
Not the same height.
They do have brown hair, both of them.
Not the same height.
I don't know how tall that Bobby Brown girl is.
I don't know. I think she's taller, but
Who can tell?
all right. Well, that's enough about Gypsy Rose. Sorry, TikTok.
Please no more of that.
All right. The next story we wanted to talk about was this Arkansas man. It's been in the news for a while. We've wanted to talk about it for a while, but a man out of Arkansas, in northeast Arkansas, is suing a Las Vegas dancer. And here in Nevada, you don't have to write the amount you're suing for. You see that in the news sometimes other places, hey, they're suing for a certain amount. Here in Nevada, you just have to say you're suing for over $15,000.
That is the minimum jurisdictional amount necessary to get you into certain courts.
Yeah. So district courts.
Right. We talk about small claims, justice court, district court. There's just a minimum amount. And then after that, there's another threshold, which is where you're in district court, but you either are in the mediation program or you're in full-on district court.
Arbitration program.
Yep. Sorry, arbitration program.
So in Arkansas, you have to write an amount.
What? Sorry, I just pulled the article up. What?
And he is suing, asking for $38.5 million because he, in his mind or in real life, had a relationship with a Las Vegas dancer / stripper and gave her a lot of presents over a lot of years, including some real property, a home, a lot of cash, and he's alleging that she, instead of being faithful to the relationship that they had cultivated, used that with her boyfriends and friends and gave it to them. These numbers are often inflated. I don't practice Arkansas law, so I don't know if that's, hey, you got to give a max. There's some statutes here where you have to give an amount and you can never get more than that. So I don't know if it's, hey, this is the max amount that we can possibly say that we're owed, and so we want to say what the max amount is. Justin, what advice would you give? We love visitors to Las Vegas. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for spending your money. What would you tell this Arkansas man to think about before maybe giving a ton of money to a stripper?
Well, I mean, give your money to whomever you see fit. It's a free country. However, probably most times, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And the stripper doesn't really like you. She's pretending because you're giving her money to pretend to like you.
Is that and that's the relationship there? Come to Vegas, give some money to strippers, sure, whatever. Don't give millions of dollars to a stripper.
No. If you want to give millions of dollars to somebody, put us on retainer. We'll take you to sweet strip clubs, show you a good time. When you go to do something stupid, we'll stop you. That money will then maintain in your bank account and you'll be happier for it, I promise you. Actually, you know what? Not even $3 million. $1 million. I'll do it for $1 million. No problem. I'll follow you around.
Designated fiduciaries.
I'll have like a bell. It's like the idiot bell. Ding! Then you'll know, hey, don't do that.
We'd get kicked out though. They'd be like, no, like now they're not spending money.
No. He's still gonna spend some. No,
Yeah,
throw some.
I'll bring more back. Don't worry.
Throw some ones, brah. Get her. Get yourself a little dollar dance or whatever it is they have out here.
She doesn't love you,
She
bro.
doesn't. She doesn't.
She doesn't love you.
She doesn't.
She wants your money.
Yes.
Come to Vegas.
But also, here's the other interesting thing. So as I'm looking at this article, it says that this took over a period of like a decade.
Yes.
Because he was, well, also, here's another thing,
If
gents.
you got your claws into him, why would you let out?
When you're going through a divorce, as this is what it says he was going through a divorce in 2014 to have a smoke, and then he goes to this gentleman's club to have a smoke, cigar, and a few cocktails. That's fine. Blow off some steam. But when you're in any relationship that's ending, this is not legal advice. This is just life advice. Probably don't do things that are going to ultimately be more emotionally harmful to you, right? It's okay to be by yourself. It's okay to have quiet time. It's okay to be alone. It's not the end of the world, and maybe you need to focus on yourself. So I think the real takeaway here is, if you're going to go to a strip club, when you're in this sort of an emotional state, you have to make sure you have somebody there or the controls in place so you don't do something silly because of where you're at. It's sounding to me like you probably just got emotionally taken advantage of, obviously.
I will second that and say, even when you're in a marriage or a relationship, have a good friend you can go to bounce ideas off of that, would be there for you in a time of need too. Yeah. To say, hey, I met this stripper, and
Dude,
she just wants $1 million, and she's my girlfriend, I promise.
I've got some friends, shout out. I'm not going to shout them out.
I mean, we're here in Vegas, so we have people that have girlfriends who are strippers, right?
I have friends who have dated strippers.
But how did they meet? Did they meet in the strip club or out of the strip club?
No, they met like in real life. At least I don't think they met in the strip club.
Not that they'd admit to you anyway.
One of them I know didn't meet in the strip club because this person is a tattoo artist, and he just met him through his job. Strippers, tattoos, they tend to go together.
Yeah.
So that's different. And then the other fella, I don't know where he met her, and I didn't even know actually that's what she used to do. And they've been together for a long time. I only recently, like within the last month, heard that, and I don't care. It's whatever. But it was just like, oh, wild. Never would have guessed. And also, don't look down on strippers.
No, we're not trying to say that either.
No, not at all. Who cares?
This specific one, I mean, who knows if she really even promised him anything. She might have just been accepting the money and, hey,
from a liability
good for you.
standpoint, though, I think he might have an uphill battle here.
Yeah. If he's just offering that money in prospects of a relationship, there's no guarantee for a relationship.
I can think of analogous rules that we learned in law school, though, specifically when it comes to engagements, right? You give a engagement ring, and this is common law. This isn't Nevada. This is just something that popped up in the memory banks from law school. In torts or contract, I think it would work for both. But when you give an engagement ring and then she breaks off the engagement, you get the ring back. There's case law on it. We studied it in law school.
Yeah, the ring was a big question of... Yeah, he paid
and
for
it's contract at that point.
What about cosmetic surgery? Something she can't give back.
Oh.
And helped buy a home.
So I think that, well, but they weren't married, so there wouldn't be any punitive property issues there. I wonder if with things like the home, you're going to have unjust enrichment. I don't know, man. But the cosmetic surgery, I don't think you're getting anything on that. Your damages are going to get cut.
I mean,
dramatically.
she has to answer this case, otherwise she's going to be in trouble of
Gonna
having
get
a default judgment against her.
Oh.
So she does have to answer the case.
That's probably
She does have to participate.
That's probably terrifying to her to get a default judgment.
Well, she's got a home now that's worth $900,000 supposedly. So
Okay,
maybe.
For those of you that don't know, when a complaint is filed unless an extension is granted, and the state of Nevada, federally, state of Kansas as well, check your local jurisdiction, you have 21 days to answer. What that means is the complaint's filed through the court, local area, wherever that is, and then a process server serves that complaint on the individual who's being named as the defendant. The defendant then has 21 days to answer from the time of service. So I misspoke initially, but I knew what I was saying, it just wasn't coming out of my mouth right. Typical. And from there, the case will get started. But if someone doesn't answer within 21 days, here we have to do a 3-day notice of intent to serve a default judgment. They don't answer at that point, then we can serve a default judgment and you do a prove-up hearing to assess your damages. So in this case, let's say she doesn't answer, he gets a default judgment if it was here in Nevada, which...
It's filed in Arkansas.
Okay. But if it was in Nevada, you get that default judgment and then you get to have a prove-up hearing where you present all your damages. This is what happened, and the judge will either assign the damages and you'll have a judgment against them or not. I've never had a situation where I've been in a default hearing and didn't get the damages I asked for. It's always a thing. You want to be conservative because you don't want to go overboard. But man, after that first one, when they were just like, oh, this is how many damages? Sure, rubber stamp. I want the next one. I was like, I want to add some zeros to this thing. You can't do it. It has to be reasonably related. So here he's asking for $3.5 million in compensatory damages and $35 million in punitive damages. That might pass muster. Just based on
If she doesn't answer.
No, I'm saying that just the additor.
Yeah.
The 3.5 to 35, that's 10 times.
If there's a punitive real.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a really punitive, a basis for punitive damages being claimed. But the point is that, like, that seems like a lot, $38.5 million. But if his actual damages are 3.5, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Right. We're going to put a doubted stamp on this case and the reasonableness of it, but...
And even if he does, guess what? Can't get blood from a stone, bro.
She
ain't gonna happen.
She did get... The news says she has this huge house, 4,980 square foot house that he helped her buy and bought $720,000 in 2019. It's got to be worth maybe over $2 million now.
Her name?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you just do that thing that you do and find out where she lives?
It's public access. It
is public information. I'm not being weird here.
Anything would be a zestimate. I'd look at what Zillow would give as a zestimate. And
All
right, Shane got done creeping. What'd you find?
We talked about this on the podcast I appeared on earlier.
Look at you.
Clark
You're switching
County.
from being a lawyer to being a podcaster.
Clark County, you can look for public information about homes and who owns it, and unless you're a cop or prosecutor, then you can hide your information so that the public can't come find
true.
it. So, but she is not either of those that I know of, and the zestimate on her house is $1.3 million.
So he can get close to half of his money back.
Almost doubled in price there. It looks like a huge 4,980 square foot
Does
home.
it have a pool?
Does it have a pool? There's no pictures, so this might have been a new build.
We have to have a pool.
Why?
Because it's
Why?
super annoying to me still.
Why?
Anyway,
0.3 acres is also not quite a third of an
that's
acre.
trash. For $1.5 million, I
that's-
better get some land.
Garbage.
For 1.8 or 9, I could go up to, well, at least before all the Californians started ruining it, I could go to Wyoming and buy like 1,000 continuous acres with a house on it. So
With no water, no sewage.
that's not true. You have water. You have
water everywhere.
mineral rights.
Okay. Hey,
Anyway.
dig a hole, you'll find water.
All right, gents. When you come to Vegas, Do things that are fun. Be
Spend
safe.
money. Spend money, please. Thank you.
All of your monies.
We have no state income tax.
Get
because of you.
DUIs, and when you do, come to me and I will defend you.
Don't.
I'm just kidding. Don't.
That's not legal advice.
Don't get DUIs.
But if you
But
happen
if you happen to get one, we're happy to help you, and we do good work.
There's people that get wrongfully convicted too.
If you're wrongfully
accused,
I got you.
there's people that get pulled over and there is no probable cause to be pulled
Correct.
over.
I've got a pretty crazy one right now, actually. We're just going for it. We're setting it for prelim.
Let's fight the ones that need to be fought.
Absolutely.
So come and give us your full story.
We ensure that your constitutional rights are upheld and protected.
We can't ensure that the judge will.
I can ensure that I'm going to.
We will fight for it. Yes.
Fight tooth and nail.
We love that.
Shane's teeth, my nails.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just saying stuff, dude.
It's
like today we're just
provocative.
playing therapist anyway. Like we're
It's
not really talking about what does it mean? I don't know. It's provocative. It's the people going.
Let's talk about guns.
Heck yeah.
Oh, I love talking about guns.
I love talking about guns.
So there's been some recent Supreme Court decisions from our U.S. Supreme Court, from
There's a Ninth
Circuit
decision.
Court decision, which is the circuit that's over us in Nevada, California as well. It's the
And
circuit.
arguably one of the more persuasive circuits just because of
It services the most population
it's
of
got a
all
lot
the
of
circuit
people under
courts.
it.
So
the 9th and 5th are probably the top two.
those are two big ones, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but I don't know by population. 9th is the biggest.
I think the 5th because it includes DC, so
So most states have laws, including Nevada here,
yes.
that any felon doesn't, no matter what the crime is, will at least temporarily lose their Second Amendment rights to have a gun. And then it would be a subsequent crime to have a felon in possession, we call it.
Well-
So a felon in possession of any firearm.
Possession of firearm by a prohibited person. The reason it's written that way is it's a little bit more broad.
Because there can be some misdemeanors,
Yeah.
domestic violence.
Domestic especially.
Yeah, where you also cannot own a gun.
Yeah.
So the Second Amendment is very clear that any person shall have the right to own a gun, but now we're looking at restricting that right. So it's a weight of, hey, what's the government interest? Are they trying to protect somebody by not having them be able to have a gun? And so logically somebody might say, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, I don't want somebody who's just, Gypsy Rose who killed somebody,
She didn't kill anybody.
assisted in killing somebody,
There you go.
that comes out of prison, and then can she own a gun while she's on probation? So, Justin, tell us a little bit about these decisions that have been coming out recently.
So the first one, the most recent, was Rahimi. United States versus Rahimi. Let's see. What is the citation on it?
Yeah, our listeners will love to hear the citation.
Okay, fine. United States versus Rahimi. This is a case where a guy had basically a protection from abuse order on him. What that means is he was in a domestic situation and he did something that, and this is something we were talking about in the office when we were in here. It just really sucks when you have a 2A case and the guy who's, the name, Rahimi, in this instance, was doing some objectively bad stuff.
He's a bad guy.
Not a good dude. Not somebody I'd probably want to hang out with. I can almost guarantee I would not want to go shooting with him. I read through the case. His history is bad. He got into a car crash before, fired a gun at that car. He was driving around shooting a gun in the air, a whole bunch of other stuff. But anyway, what happens is he's getting into an argument with his baby mama, wife, girlfriend, whatever she is, which establishes that domestic relationship. They were in some kind of romantic partnership because they're either family or you're in a romantic partnership to establish that element. They get into an argument. He tries to put her in the car. She doesn't want to go, and when he pushes her in, her head hits the dash. Somebody is standing out watching, saying, hey, leave her alone. He goes for a gun. She has time to run, and then he takes a shot or two or whatever. Unclear if he was shooting at her or the other guy, the witness. She goes for a protection from abuse. Restraining order, there's a bunch of different words for it, but basically whenever you have a domestic situation and somebody can establish that there's a danger to their lives, that the individual who they're seeking protection from poses a risk, then they will sometimes get those granted. Here, we see them pretty frequently. It can accompany things like assault cases, battery cases, It can even be neighbor disputes. I've seen some weird ones in justice court where we're waiting for prelims and they're like, all right, let's get these up here. And it's just two people griping about the azaleas and their dog crapping on the other person's lawn. It's ridiculous. But in this case, that was granted, and he got 2 years of stay away order. And during that stay away order, he was restricted from his firearms. Now, the United States Supreme Court, which this was given certiorari from the Fifth Circuit, the United States Supreme Court held that he did not have a right to his firearms in that situation, because when an individual has been found by a court to pose a credible threat to the physical safety of another, that individual can be temporarily disarmed. So the case that they're looking at is Bruin. The Bruin came out before Rahimi, and Bruin
was a huge Second Amendment case when it came out. Huge case. Out of New York, there was a New York law about gun rights, and they were trying to restrict gun rights in the state of New York, one of the more liberal states, and a couple guys from upstate New York challenged this, and they sued Bruin, who was the head of the state police, who's supposed to enforce this. So correct. Bruin is not one of the people involved that was trying to protect the gun rights. He's just a representative from the government. So that's that's his name in this instance. Sometimes it depends on how the cases work. It could be a criminal, or it could be, in this specific instance, just a head of a government who represents it.
So in Bruin, there's basically a two-step analysis, right? The first one is the thing an arm? Is the weapon and
what they're trying to restrict?
What they're trying to restrict isn't an arm in the classic meaning of it.
Right to bear arms.
Does the proposed course of conduct fall within the Second Amendment's plain language? And is that person a member of the people, which the Second Amendment protects because they're an American citizen? And then
they fit that.
If you have all of that, then the government can prove that the prohibition is good if it's part of a historic tradition that provided the outer bounds of the Second Amendment right. So using Bruin...
What was New York trying to restrict?
In Bruin?
Yeah. What kind of weaponry?
It was handguns in Bruin, I think. I've read so many cases today, and Bruin was not one of them.
No, you're good.
Dang it. I should know that.
You should. This is like right up your alley.
Yeah, it was New York pistol.
It's the ability to carry a pistol in public.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
So, open carry, as we might call that.
Correct.
Constitutional carry.
In Rahimi, the first set of factors, right, the first three that you list, is it an arm, are they the person, yada, yada, yada. That's all affirmatively checked. But in Rahimi, what they were able to do is look at the historical framework and see that there were laws in the nation's founding, like way, way back, that were included to specifically prevent people from using weapons when they posed an immediate risk. A lot of the laws they looked at from Massachusetts and Philadelphia dealt with people who were trying to involve themselves in insurrection, which obviously you don't want people who are going to commit rebellion to be able to just be like, all right, well, we're done with our rebellion, give us our guns back, right? No, we don't trust you anymore, at least not for a period. The interesting thing about Rahimi is it kind of leaves open whether or not when this protection order is done, assuming that the felon in possession statute gets sorted out, when this protection order is done, if he deserves to have his guns back, right? Like, or if it can be permanent.
Yeah, and
they seem to hat tip that it doesn't, like that you'd get it back. It has to be. It can't be unlimited.
Right, and what the public doesn't understand or appreciate is maybe that it has to be a specific set of facts presented to the Supreme Court for them to rule on. They cannot, by law, give any prospective rulings on, oh, this is what we would do if. So these actually have to be actual disputes.
Sometimes they will give a hat tip, though.
They'll give a hat tip, as you said. A case in controversy. It has to be an actual dispute at that moment. So we don't get just blanket answers. We have specific things that lead to answers. So it's a hat tip, but going to this Ninth Circuit decision that we're going to talk about too, Stephen Duarte, a.k.a. in the caption here, a.k.a. Shorty is his nickname, that is actually on the caption of this case,
It is. It's very funny.
aka Shorty.
You should put the caption up there. Just like screenshot it.
He was convicted in California of being their equivalent felon in possession.
Yeah.
So,
Facts of that one are that police officers were following this car. I don't remember what it did initially, but they thought, oh, it looks like it's suspicious. The car runs a red light, or runs a stop sign. At that point, they light it up to pull it over.
probable cause.
They see somebody throw a firearm from the back passenger seat out the window, roll the window down and toss it out. Then they conduct the stop a block later. They find a magazine and ammunition stuck between the seat and the center console, like back where the front side of the back seat would be. And then they found the other gun, which fit the magazine as well, and that's where Shorty was sitting. And
he had to be convicted of this. He had to go to a trial and get convicted of this to change the law. So he has to
Correct.
sit behind bars.
And this is years. He's going to be
You
done
know,
with the sentence by the time this is over.
For this decision.
He probably already is. So
to make a change in the world, you know.
So this was argued and submitted December 4th of 2023, and then they filed the decision in May of 24. This is all new. And what they found in this particular case is that, yes, Duarte's weapon, the handgun, is an arm within the meaning of the Second Amendment, obviously. Carrying it for self-defense falls within the Second Amendment's language, and that Duarte is a part of the people whom the Second Amendment protects. And they also found the government failed to prove that the categorical prohibition on people who have been convicted of felonies, and in the federal statute 922 subsection G subsection 1, it says convicted of a crime that can result in incarceration for more than a year, and that's what a felony is. No felony that I'm aware of can result in incarceration for less than 365 days.
So he had been in prison 4 years.
Yeah.
Waiting for this decision.
Yeah. So the court ultimately found that the government did not provide enough information to indicate that the categorical prohibition was within the bounds of the Second Amendment.
He's nonviolent. He has all nonviolent history.
All nonviolent.
That's the difference.
Yeah,
here.
that's the huge difference.
He does have a history, but they're all nonviolent.
But I remember when this came out, I hadn't actually read it. I just read the Spark Notes on it, and I remember thinking or hearing that the California AUSA that was arguing it, that's Assistant U.S. Attorney for whatever the District of California is.
Sure.
Was quoting or citing case law from the 1860s and 1870s, which dealt with gun restrictions. Well, the interesting and awful thing about those particular gun restrictions is they dealt specifically with preventing former slaves from having weapons, because those are
the whites didn't want the blacks to have guns.
Yeah.
And
so when I look through this, it turns out there's a whole bunch of case laws
that's conveniently made for a specific purpose. Yeah. Okay, can we look at the color of the guy before we make this decision?
Yes. Laws disarming British loyalists or disaffected persons. And these are just headings within the decision that kind of break down what the state was arguing, and just just running through it logically because it didn't help. Laws disarming Catholics or papists. It's always some category of people who are deemed less than. Laws disarming Indians, Native Americans, and I'm just reading what it says. Laws disarming slaves and free blacks. The whole point is these gun registrations, these gun restrictions a lot of times have some really negative undertones. It's like, hey, we think we're the good people and you're the bad people, so you shouldn't have the guns or the ability to defend yourselves, because ultimately what it really breaks down to is we know we're going to do some stuff that you don't like, and we don't want you to be able to shoot us in the face for it. E.g., taking Native American land, e.g., enslaving people, right?
Tribalism.
And it's actually very interesting because in the decision, which it's pretty long, and I didn't read exactly the whole thing. I never read dissents. I probably should. But I was kind of picking that up, that what the government seemed to be indicating is that people that were felons were a second class of citizens. They didn't actually say that, but they did say that they, were not proper, or I forget the words that they use, and I'm trying to scroll through and find it. I didn't highlight it like I should have. But basically saying that people who've been convicted of felonies were somehow different
Yeah.
and less than those who haven't.
The dissent specifically used the quote, law-abiding citizens, that these rights, the Second Amendment rights, should only be for law-abiding citizens. So a question is, I have maybe gone over the speed limit in my life. Am I now not a law-abiding citizen? Does that brandish me for the rest of my life?
You ever shine a laser at anything?
only helicopters. Shout out, Paul. Thank you.
Shouldn't get the ability to own a gun. You can't defend yourself.
So
you don't have that.
There has to be a limit.
Inalienable right.
There has to be a limit, and it. I mean, this seems appropriate. Hey, is this person violent? Have they shown a history of violence? Can they?
No offense to Rahimi.
Make a motion later to maybe reinstate those rights? Is that something we can have as a possibility? Because these people will be left in the dark. Hey, when can I get my gun rights back, if ever? I committed a violent crime when I was 15 years old, but I've rehabilitated.
Also, what's a crime of violence?
We look at Adam Clausen, who was on our show. Violent crime. Yes, he committed violent crimes.
Did he?
And was convicted he brandished a firearm, right?
Is brandishing a firearm violence? And that's the reason I asked.
I think robbery by definition is one of the
robbery is the taking of property from another by force or threat of force.
Yes.
By force, okay, that's violence. Is threat of force violence? And that's a tough question to answer.
And for every person it's going to be different, right?
For me personally, threat of force, even though I don't want robbers to be robbing, I don't like it. It's not a good idea. If you try and rob me and I'm not at court, it's going to end real bad for one of us. I can promise you that. But if you just say, hey, give me your money, I'm going to beat you up, I don't know if that's violent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a range, and some people would say anyone on the scale that has, exhibited any danger, take their guns away, and some would have a higher propensity for that.
Bat was substantial with a deadly weapon that's obviously violence. Kidnapping, obviously violence. Murder, any of the bark stuff, right?
Yeah. It's going to be different for everyone, but the courts have the burden of telling us.
Oh, but here's the interesting thing about this. Sorry. I found this out when I was looking it up. So on July 17th, this got filed with the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Upon the vote of a majority of non-recused active judges, it is ordered that this case be reheard en banc pursuant to Federal Rule of Appellate Procedure 35 Alpha and Circuit Rule 35-3. The three-judge panel opinion is vacated. So the initial decision in Duarte was a three-judge panel, and now it's going to be en banc. Ooh. What does that mean, Shane?
Ooh. So for judicial efficiency, these circuit courts will make a decision just with 3 judges usually, and this was a 2-1 decision, just barely, and they try to do random assignments, but then if a decision is important enough and the Ninth Circuit feels like it should hear the decision in front of the entire Ninth Circuit, then they will hear this en banc, which is the entire grouping of judges.
Well,
so they will.
Other good thing is that once they hear en banc, it goes to the Supremes. Almost assuredly.
Assuredly, yeah. The U.S. Supreme Court is not compelled to hear any case. They're not forced to. They get to pick and choose the decisions they want to. So this would likely be one.
I can say why I think that, right? Between Heller and Bruin, there was a long period of time. Like DC v. Heller was like 2004 or 5, right? It's an old case. There was a big period of time where the Supreme Court just did not want to take 2A cases. Now, they're taking them left, right, and center.
We have a Supreme Court composed that wants to take those cases too.
Supreme Court that, there's absolutely a dearth of case law when it comes to the Second Amendment. Like, there are way more questions than answers with respect to what is the right to bear arms.
Right.
What does that mean? And it doesn't mean bear arms like a grizzly.
And the Ninth Circuit is not controlling for all courts.
It's very persuasive.
The U.S. Supreme Court is controlling for all courts when it's questions of the Constitution, which they are
correct.
The final decision makers on. the Ninth Circuit is controlling for our federal district here in Nevada,
And it should
in
work.
California, everywhere.
Right, but
Yeah,
if you have
everywhere
a-
through the ninth, if it's a federal case.
But if you have a federal case that is analogous to a state case,
It should. It should.
and we've got a couple of gun cases right now that we're punting on. I've got a prelim that's supposed to happen next week in Mesquite for a felon in possession where it's the guy had
Nonviolent history.
nonviolent history, and we're punting, absolutely punting.
And that judge has to make that decision saying, hey, is this law unconstitutional? Is this law on the books unconstitutional? Which is a brave decision to make. It's a jump, right? To say that a law that maybe people they know have created, am I going to say this law is unconstitutional and now the prosecutors cannot bring, these kind of cases against these kind of people ever? And so, but that's a way that it goes up a level to the Nevada Supreme Court, and then cases can go from state Supreme Courts to the U.S. Supreme Court as well.
It's interesting though, because when you see these and you have a whole lot of these cases, right? I don't know how many times I've seen felon in possession cases, both from the track or like private clients. I mean, heck, I think we've got 5 of them right now, right? They happen a lot.
Yes.
And not one of the cases that I've had has been a situation where it was a robbery or a burglary.
They
or
just had a
something else,
gun. They just had a gun.
and they had a gun. It was always just, I got pulled over. The cop asked me if I had a weapon. I told him, probably shouldn't have had that.
And then, bam, slapped with another felony.
Another felony, category B.
So we do have, some ones we can fight with this.
Mhm.
And this is why we are taking a very special interest in this, because it affects our clients right now. It might not affect the average listener, but,
It affects more of them than you think.
people like owning guns. There's a ton of people who enjoy having guns and having one with them at all times. So there are a ton of non-violent criminals who have a history that want to own guns.
But the other thing is, like, some of these laws don't make a lot of sense. Like, if you say, okay, if you have a felony, you can't have a gun. Okay, let's break that apart. What can felonies be? Felonies can be all kinds of things. And wasn't Adam the one that was talking about it? That something like 1 in 4 people have a felon in their close family or circle of friends? That means 25% of people have committed a felony. And I've seen some other stuff. Granted, it's all online, so who knows if it's crap or not. They're talking about regular law-abiding citizens committing accidentally, between all of the Code of Federal Regulations, state regulations, administrative codes, committing a felony once or twice a month accidentally.
It's a felony to record a phone call, right, here in Nevada? So
It depends.
Without
It can be.
advising. So I'm sure somebody's done that and thought, oh, there's nothing wrong with this, but hey, you committed a
I want to
felony.
make sure I know what my boyfriend's saying so that later, whenever we have this discussion again, he can't pull one over on me.
There you go.
And then you
committed
commit a felony. Should that person be prohibited from having a firearm? Did they do anything violent? No.
Yeah. I hope that this goes up to the Supreme Court, the
I
U.S.
do too.
Supreme Court, and then
Yeah.
comes back as the Shorty decision. So we can just
Heck yeah.
argue
I also
under Shorty.
accidentally hope, it's never going to happen, but I can cross my fingers, that they deem that the Federal Firearms Act of 1963 and the NFA, the National Firearms Act, are unconstitutional, and they strike them down, and they disband the ATF. And I can own all the guns that I want to own.
Well, the Chevron being overruled, I guess, might affect the ATF as well. But
Good, I hope so.
we have a listener question. What law would you rewrite, and how would you make it more entertaining? That is from Anonymous.
Oof.
It was just a random email, not like address.
You got emails? We
Yeah.
get
We have an
emails?
email address?
Yeah, tangledrightspod@gmail.com.
How many emails have we gotten? 1.
We've gotten 2 emails. Shout out to 50% of our emails.
We're not like Gypsy Rose. We're not getting too big for ourselves.
All right, you go first.
What law would I rewrite, and how would I make it more entertaining?
I don't know what they meant by more entertaining.
Make law more entertaining.
Oh man,
I would get rid of all HOAs. Let's go back to
yes.
that.
Ugh,
Let's get rid of all
hate them.
HOAs. You can paint your house whatever color you want.
Also, most regulatory boards, we don't need the bar. They didn't exist. They just are a way for them to get money. And then you see these people.
Let's let Google reviews take over, right?
Essentially getting away with murder, with respect to legal stuff, and the bar does nothing to them. Just
yeah, but if there's no regulatory board, then how do we?
They still had a method for that's what the whole thing. But stand before the bar, you had to have somebody who would vouch for you, who's in the practice. And I think that's probably a little bit better because that person knows the judge. The judge knows if they're competent. And if they're going to vouch for you, they're going to say, hey, I'm putting my...
Isn't that the good old boys club then? You're not...
A little bit.
You're not...
But it could also be the good old girls club and the good old days club. Everyone's invited, right? So it's fine. Anyway,
you're being inclusive, huh?
I am super inclusive. I like everybody. Or hate them equally, typically.
I think that we should let Justin... One of the laws is let Justin do whatever he wants at all times.
No.
And have his own reality TV show.
Especially not in traffic. That'd be a real bad idea. Go back to California before they do that, I can promise you. Or otherwise you're going to regret it. So law that they could rewrite that would make it more entertaining. Instead of prohibiting people from taking mushrooms, they should make people take mushrooms.
Oh, like a mandatory
once
a
year.
Month?
No, not once a month.
Once a month.
No.
Ayahuasca?
No. Just a gram and a half of some really good BKPs. Go to the mountains, reflect on your life, maybe get a little bit introspective. It'll give you some perspective on other people.
How about
that would be entertaining.
How about
also the giggles are great.
Mandatory exercise. Let's make everybody exercise. Half
everybody
hour
that
a
can.
day. Everybody that can. There can be exclusions.
Sure.
You'll have to file something if you're trying to get out of your exercise. Endorphins make people happy.
Exercise equals endorphins. Endorphins equal happiness. Correct. Also, for me, one that I would really like is Justin can own fully automatic weapons because they're so much fun to shoot. They're just a good time.
Yeah. Okay. Justin can own them.
Yes. Justin W. Wilson, Esquire.
And the government can own them, too.
Nope.
Oh, you're taking them away from the government.
Hey, if anybody has exhibited a pattern of systemic violence that indicates that they should not be trusted with firearms...
The U.S. government.
All of them.
Okay.
Name one government that hasn't committed some atrocity. I'll wait.
I don't know.
That's what I thought. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
I'm not a history scientist here.
A history scientist? Or are you a rocket surgeon?
Yes. Thank you for your time and patience with Tangled Rights.
Sorry.
The best legal podcast in the whole entire world. Comment what you'd like to hear from us. If you have any guests that would be entertaining to have on as well.
Can we do remote guests?
We can do remote guests.
Okay. Yeah, if you got somebody...
We're going to get the Tiger King on here.
Working on it.
I would love that. Are you actually?
Yeah. He emailed me back last week.
But then radio silence.
So I followed
He's so good. Dude, he's in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, you could go there. He's near Oklahoma City, right? South of it?
Yeah.
Or is he in prison there?
I think he's in prison right around there. My aunt lives in Choctaw. That's like down 40 past Tinker. So we could have a place to stay if we wanted to go down there.
Let's go. Let's go
interview Tiger King. That'd be so good.
Yes.
Man, I want a pet tiger. That'd be so awesome.
New law to rewrite.
New law. Justin gets to... Well, yeah, I can already own one, I think. No, new law. They have to genetically engineer a tiger so that it stays cute, cuddly, and not dangerous, and then give it to me.
Okay. Signing off.